Hello. Welcome to another episode of Technical Difficulties. Sorry we're running late. Ran into some technical difficulties.
Wait, you look like Ali G in the house.
And with that, your band. How you guys doing tonight?
Mods today.
Good.
Ban me for calling you old and ban him for...
Yes. But
the
since
intro
we're
is very, very cool.
Since we're talking about mods, though, might as well let it slip. Player 2, you are the latest mod for the Cyberdeck Cafe. He'll find out tomorrow when he wakes up.
Because he's awake all night.
I look forward to seeing his reaction. I think he'll be happy.
I was kind of thinking I look like Bono right now. The hair, the glasses. I'm much better looking. Crickets! I hear crickets!
and I will not even think. The intro video is very, very cool. You made
it is awesome. Caleb made that for us.
Very, very
everyone needs a Caleb. If you need some kind of production done, just go hire him. He's awesome. But yeah, he threw that together for us, and yeah, it's pretty cool. We cut that down a little bit from the one that was made for VirtueCon. And
I'm going to be commissioning some opening wheels like that for my streams.
Don't need to be advertising for that. Just get that out there. Yeah, might as well. And you might notice the StreamYard logo in the corner. That's because I don't feel like paying them for such terrible resolution. You know, we have the 1080p going, and it just looked kind of awful. It was exactly the same as the 720 version. So we've gone back to a free account because there was no benefit to it. And I don't mind having a duck in your window.
I mean, we have 4 people watching. There are 3 of us here. I don't think that with this level of audience.
Everyone watching, you want to just come on the live stream here? You can. We got room.
There is room to 10, right? So we can have.
Yeah, I think room to 8 on the free account.
Yeah.
So who's in here with us? Sound off in the comments.
Well, Daniel Norris is here going doo-doo-doo. And Cariad 2021 is saying it's cool.
It is.
It is cool.
Everything is.
Cool. We got a couple of updates. Yeah, you're going to start.
Yeah, go ahead.
On my end, I'll do my little trick. Let me see, change. I have a couple of cameras now.
Nice.
Yep. So you can see I had the MSG, which I put on the website, and I had last summer. Immediately after the VirtCon 1, where I kind of finished it, I started trying to make changes to make it a little better. In the process, I dropped it and cracked the screen and pretty much destroyed it. Really? So yeah, I ended up rebuilding it, and now it's up and running. And it's better than it's ever been. Look it there. It has the screen. I tested a tricolor from Permeroni, but I had issues getting it to work. It's the wave share, but this one is a little better and reads well even when it's off. Before, when it was off, the e-ink.
Just wondering, with the tricolor e-ink, were you still refreshing it as fast as you do on the black and white e-ink?
So it actually works pretty fast and pretty well. The only thing is that the Permeroni has a hard, you need to make the image kind of almost a pixel at a time. So I started to make the lines, and you can see that there is a red hue. I was going to make maybe the S be red, but I got tired building the logo on that screen while I had already working on the wave share.
So you need a pixel perfect image to display on it?
Sort of, and worse than that is that then I wasn't sure how will I go. Wait, I got disconnected.
Unplugged your camera.
I unplugged my camera. Oh,
Must
great.
have been the new
Okay.
fancy setup.
Yeah.
That's okay. These things are allowed here. There's no shame in
difficulties, so.
Technical
Yeah.
difficulties.
no big deal. Just par for the course. Blasto, what are you up to?
Not a whole lot. I've just been kind of working on. Well, over there you can't really see it, but there's a little Alienware PC. I talked to you about it earlier. One of my friends
Mhm.
gave it to me a while ago, so I installed Mint on it, and it's doing okay. I haven't really done much else other than just install it yet, but you know.
I mean, there's
Sure.
not much to do. You just turn it on and it works. That's kind of what's nice about Linux today is you don't have to, spend a month compiling Gentoo and then have it not work and do it all again. Anyone who knows what, yeah, what's he up to?
Camera is back.
Says it's alive.
Yep. So what I was saying is that also I have set up that the screen tells you the temperature, and actually this is with the screen off and everything reads pretty well. So I'm going to turn it on now. You can see the time. It says 6:31. So I guess that's kind of when it was on.
No real-time clock in that Pi.
No.
Can you make
There's a
use
mod worth
Windows?
doing. Add a real-time clock to your Raspberry Pi. That's like the first mod you should do because it's
Yeah.
very useful.
And I sold mainly because I have a pack of 5 or 7 I bought for the Panagochi I never assembled, and so I should at least put one in there.
Yeah, we have the same pack, and I'm guilty of also not bothering to do it because I don't care what time it is most of the time.
Time is an illusion.
It has been for the last year.
True that.
See, screen away. Yeah.
Trekkies says the Pi needs a built-in RTC.
It really does, but that would raise the price by like 8 cents, and then
God
they couldn't
forbid.
hit their goals, I mean, I feel like they kind of skipped a few things on the Pi 400 in order to hit a price that, someone probably just pulled out of their ass.
I think I messed something up.
But where they did spend a little extra money where they didn't need to was adding parts that make the GPIO not capable of powering the Pi 400. So all of those battery boards we all have, all those hats, no longer work on the Pi 400 for some reason.
I think.
No, I'm not bitter.
All right.
You don't sound dead at all.
It's not like I have 30 plus, Raspberry Pi power supplies I can't use now.
All right. Yeah. So everything is up and running.
Yeah, you know what the Pi really needs? A power switch. Like every computer that exists on the entire planet since the very first one that was ever invented, a power switch. Because when you turn it off and you're in that standby mode where you can't turn it back on without connecting to the run pins on it, those are useless. Those could just be a power switch.
Correct. Basically, when you turn it off, the little circle stays on, and you have to hold it for 5 seconds so the power supply actually shuts down proper.
Right. Well, the Pi 400 can do that, but none of the other ones can. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's
Even the CM4, they haven't fixed that.
so something. I'm going to go over a couple of the changes I made. In the version 1, I plugged the Pi to the NUC for charging the batteries, but that limited how much it charged and also overloaded the USB port on the NUC. Plus, you wouldn't be able to power charge the batteries unless you had a 20 volt or 19 volt supply nearby. Instead, for this version, I just put together a cable, which is just a jack on one side and a USB-A on the other, and you can plug on the side on the ports for the X728 wave share. Obviously, the ports that you can use, One of them has been sacrificed. That's the one running the keyboard, screen, and a USB on the other side that runs a mouse. I have like a Logitech, whatever they call it, Uni something port. And then you got the ports for the Nook. I added the fan. I put it on the top. There it is. Oh, it's on. I put it on the top. Before it was on the back, but it wasn't doing really anything, because the problem is I had it here, but this is the back of the Pi, where it's just a wall of headers. So it's just kind of a black wall. So a fan here didn't do anything.
It's not good airflow.
Now it's much better because it's between the Nook is here, the Pi is here. This is an empty space, and the airflow pushes it up. So and the Nook itself pushes the air that way. So that should create much better airflow. Another big thing, before I had here a different type of hat that in the back I had to solder every pin to flip it backwards. So I had about 80 solder points on the back, and the e-ink screen was soldered to it too. So basically on the back here we had about 100 solder joints, and also you weren't able to disconnect anything if you just wanted to use the GPIO pins, for example. Now it's all separated as 2 different ribbons. So you can easily unplug this one if you want to do SPI testing and just put on the front anything, and you have available all the pins except 2 or 3 used for the battery. So basically it should be easier to assemble with way less solder points, more better for tinkering since you can unplug things, better airflow, and then a bunch of little things that make it easier for assembly. And what I'm going to try to do is, I'm aiming for next Friday to try to do a stream of assembling it. I'm going to basically disassemble that, put all the parts on the table, and then putting it together, because I have some people on the YouTube channel asking for like assembly guide. I feel I'll try to do it on a stream and see how that goes. I'm hoping next Friday.
MSG, we got one question from Cariad in the chat.
Perfect.
He wants to know what fan you used, and is it loud?
It's the Noctua 5 volt. It is. I don't think you can hear it, can you?
I think Noctua is pretty famous for being quiet.
Yeah, it is. It's the 10 millimeter, and it's the only thing you have to be careful is that it's the 5 volt one. They make 12 volt, but you'll have to create all kinds of adjustments for it to work. It does. You're able to see the job it does, because on the little e-ink I put in the temperature, and you see that it's like 115 Fahrenheit at the moment, and then you run it for 5 minutes and you see it going down like 2 or 3 degrees, which is more than it sounds, because if you don't have it on, it will go from 115 to like 118, and instead you see it going down to 112 type of situation. So it's there.
Now, we are all Americans here, but I have never read like CPU temperatures, in American. I wouldn't even know what it would mean in reference to what I'm used to. If your CPU is hitting 80C, that you've got a big problem. But what would that even be in Fahrenheit, like 500 degrees?
Yeah, that's fair. I would just look at the number and I feel like, oh, that's pretty hot. If that was the room temperature, but I guess that's not how the processor operates. So I could change it. It's a pretty simple Python, which is one of the other reasons I didn't use the Pimoroni tricolor, is that the WaveShare has at least a ready-made script for what they call partial refresh. And so what is going on here is that every 10 seconds, the bottom 4 numbers are refreshed. So you get the time, at most, it's going to be like 10 seconds off. And then battery reading, temperature, and volts, they could be like 10 seconds off. But the logo is not refreshed. And then every 3 minutes, basically I do, 180 seconds. So basically every 18 cycles, it does a full refresh. For the Pimoroni.
And that is to prevent like a form of screen burn?
Yes. If you don't, after this has refreshed the time, especially the time, because every 10 seconds, you have 1 minute there, but this keeps changing. after it changed for like 5 minutes, you are not able to read the last number. You will then figure out if that was a 6 or a 3 because like it just from going for 5 minutes.
So it fades out a bit while it's active.
It's more like the numbers start merging with each other, as in like the 7 doesn't really go away, the 5 doesn't really go away, and then
interesting.
Yeah, that's what happens. And then every 3 minutes, I flash the whole screen. I didn't see ready-made script for the Pepperoni. It's probably doable, but it's just that this one took me no work. I just plug it and everything just worked. That one, first I need to remake the logo. Then I need to create the script for all that. So maybe.
Right. Yeah, I'm using the same Waveshare e-ink for my Pomagachi, and it does kind of a similar thing. You get this weird ghosting in it, although I don't think there's any refresh options in the software to, mitigate that. It just starts looking pretty bad after it runs for a day or two.
Oh, I will actually. I'm gonna upload all the parts to Thingiverse. The parts for the MSG1 are already there, but I'll update for the MSG2, and I'm gonna put in my GitHub the code I use for that. So anyone with the Webster 2.0, the same screen, you'll be able. Not necessarily that you want to show that logo and those exact numbers, but it should be pretty easy from my code to change this image for an image that you like, and play around to get with the partial refresh and every 3 minutes full refresh. So you can do that. Cool. I will imagine that the full refresh is going to be a little more battery intensive. Here, I don't really care because this thing uses so much power that.
Now, speaking of power, I saw a comment recently on a video saying that the Cyberdecks are, basically just toys. They don't have any real power to them. What Intel NUC are you running in that one?
This is that is the Intel NUC with the i7 processor. It runs StarCraft. It runs basically the normal games. I mean, I will imagine basically anything you will be able to run on a laptop, you can run here. It has an i7. It has NVMe drive. I put, I don't know, 8 or 16 gigs of RAM of the.
And there was another comment about the display being small, but would you want to carry around a huge display when you can just plug into one when you get wherever you're going?
I also bought recently the Magic Mirror, which is a 13-inch screen. It just doesn't feel like right or usable in terms of it has built in the Raspbian, and you can use Raspbian on the Magic Mirror. I don't feel that there is any improvement over how I use that one. So
my favorite comment was about the weight, and all I can say to that is if you think that computer is heavy, you should have seen the laptops we had 10 years ago. Also, you're probably just weak and need to work out a little.
Yeah,
Do you even lift, bro?
When I walked the dog earlier today, just for a test, I took it around and carried it. It is fairly comfortable. I don't think anyone that can walk shouldn't be able to carry that comfortably. And I'm going to be upgrading here is a much fancier strap. So that's my wife is the one that makes the straps and all this sewing. So it'll be upgraded, the strap, and it'll be even more comfortable. But I carried it earlier today. It's perfectly fine. I don't if you want to complain, that's fine. But it is definitely something anyone can carry with no problem.
Yeah, and without it having to be inside a large, bulky bag, Why bring a whole backpack with you if you don't need to?
Correct. I carried that around. I carried that just like this, just on my shoulder.
And you could maybe just Velcro strap on the power supply right to the shoulder strap and not have to carry a whole nother bag.
Yeah, I do have the. I got that one. It's very expensive, or at least pricey, but it is very good, and it has regular wall plug. It has the USB A's. It has a USB-C, which is in and out, so you can charge something else or charge that. It has the barrel jack with that you can control 12, 19, 16 volts.
Is that a standalone battery pack?
Yeah, that is.
How long have you ran the Intel NUC off of it?
I had not been able to turn it on because I haven't tried the barrel jack because I need to I need to buy the 2.2 or 2.5 millimeter the stupid
Okay, the adapter for it.
exactly. And when I used the 19 volt power supply, it wasn't able to kick it off that way by plugging the power supply here, which I assume
Right.
that maybe
Probably just too high wattage then.
yeah. So I just need to put together one cable and then I'll test that. But for everything else, it works very well.
Cool. Yeah, actually, I'll just switch the screen here. Got one of these little power supplies recommended from someone in the group. It's a pretty cool little box. I have not tried it yet for the NUC, but it has 5 volt, 9 volt, and 12 volt that can output simultaneously. Charges off of 12 volts, which gives you pass-through, or 5 volts just if you need to top off the batteries that are in here, but not run anything at the same time. It does get a little bit hot while it's running, so I think I'm going to pop the case open and actually stick a fan in it. There's 4 18650s in here, so the capacity isn't huge, but having all the other voltage outputs is kind of nice. And the Intel NUC I have is it's a Celeron model. It's very low power, I think 6 watt draw max. So I'm pretty sure I'll be able to run it off this if I wanted to. And no plan to include this inside the case of a deck. It's so small I could just leave it in the backpack and run a cord over to whatever I'm powering up. Easier than trying to fit this whole thing inside the case.
Yeah. So that's the NUC. I'll try to do the assembly next week.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is
That shirt.
the Hans shirt.
Look at them with the hieroglyphs. Pretty good.
Someone's getting arrested.
And I started to play with the idea still early on of a new deck, which I may call the MSG Lite. May have the extrusions as I'm playing right now, or may not, but it will definitely be significantly smaller. I kind of like this screen, and I already had it working with the battery and the Pi juice. So I'll be probably playing with that for the next few weeks.
I really like that design, actually. It reminds me a lot of one that
Yeah.
wanting to do for quite a while. This is like way back in my sketchbook.
I think I've seen in your channel you were sharing as you were preparing the
before
metal.
when metal used to be a Transformers boombox yet.
Yep, something like that.
That was a
Well, actually the biggest challenge is that I'm trying to get comfortable using the Gherkin keyboard, because if I'm not comfortable using it, I will not end up using that deck, and then there is no point to it. So if I'm not comfortable, I may use yet another plank, because I'm pretty good with that. But in the meantime, I have printed out the layouts and trying to get familiar with it. If I get familiar with the Gherkin, I'll probably go ahead and put together that deck.
How many layers is that?
So practically, I have been using 4 layers. There are 5. I don't know. 5 is like print screen, browser home, my PC, reset. Okay, so 5th layer, I don't think I will ever use. But the other 4, you actually need to use them. I used it quite a bit, the first 4 layers. But on the current one, I do use 4 or 5 layers easily. I use the basic one, lower, raise, the function, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4 layers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. Yeah. So it will be the same as I use in the plank, 4 layers to 4 layers. So it'll be doable. Yeah.
I don't think I could remember all that. Like, what? Unless it's on the legend, I would not remember it.
You don't remember a lot of it, because what you remember is that when I click that this is 1 to 9 or 10, but basically all you know is that once you click FN, this becomes F1. That when I click lower, that becomes the number 1. And when I click erase, that becomes the equivalent of you doing shift and number 1. So what is the exclamation mark or whatever? But you don't kind of remember the full line. All you remember is that this line goes numbers, function numbers, or shift and number. And that kind of already is like more than half of
it's not terrible. You're really just using chords. You just have to do more than one thing where you normally would only have to hit one key. You just have to hit 2 or 3 to reach everything. Could be worse. It could be an actual chording keyboard, like the one I used in high school. It's fun once you learned it, but that took like a solid year of just practicing with it. And then I promptly forgot how to use it as soon as I stopped.
It is basically the same as just using shift on any keyboard. So
actually, I like the having the layer up and down option. Like even on the 60% I'm using here, that would have been nice. The like arrow keys and the slash and question mark, they're all in the same spot. Makes it very hard to use. You don't actually ever know if you have the arrow keys enabled or question mark. So you go to hit a question mark with shift question mark here, and then you hit up arrow and mess up your whole screen of whatever you're doing. It's kind of annoying that way. The only flaw of this very nice keyboard.
So when you change a layer, like say you hit the layer up button, does it stay at that layer till you go back down? Or do you have to like hold that key and then push something else?
It's your call.
Something on the next layer.
It's your call. I hate that. So I set them up always that I hold the lower, and while this one is being held, the layer changes. But you could make one click enables lower and it stays lower, and one click will disable lower. I will leave it always. I use my thumbs to hold the layer and then my fingers to click to push the buttons. But if you,
I think that would be easier. Yeah.
It depends on the person. Like for some people, maybe like I just click and now enable, and I don't need to kind of use my thumb to hold it down. For me, holding it down tells me now it's active.
Well, it's like having 3 different function keys.
Yeah,
because you hold the function key. We're already used to holding that down for whatever you're doing. So it's just more function keys
of the shift, because the shift key, you use it every time you need to do anything on the number, like you do shift number, or the caps. You click shift and then or whatever for the capital letters. So it is no different than that.
Yeah, that's true.
Imagine that someone gives you a keyboard where you have all the lower cases and then next to it all the upper cases. You will be like, yeah, it is the same idea. You push one button.
I don't know. I think Lord Helix might like that one. Like a 300 switch keyboard.
Yeah, but yeah,
you should make a keyboard that just is like the whole purpose is to piss people off.
Isn't that what every 60% keyboard is?
Well, I mean, instead of having it like Q, W, E, or T, Y, you have it like A, B, C, D, just something that you normally wouldn't have, and then you, I don't know, just put something in upside down, like when I had the keyboard backwards on metal, and you said to post it to mechanical keyboards. And they would...
I saw today on Reddit a keypad that to keep it safer, the numbers change every time randomly. So basically, if the people code is like 4492, you cannot just see it and see the 4492 all gone while all the other numbers are new. So it shuffles the numbers every time. So even though it's always 4492, the location of them is different. So I guess you could make a keyboard where the keys randomize every time you click one key, all other keys get randomized.
Well, if you ever worked in an office where multiple people have mechanical keyboards, having your caps be upside down frequently, that happens. At least a few of them, or just swap them around. Yeah, good times.
Like Comic Sans on as the legend. Just
or Wingdings.
Really stick it to people. There you go, Wingdings. An Enigma keyboard. Yeah.
So that is that's the stuff I wanted to share on my progress on the MSG. I'll do the assembly and then the MSG Lite, and everything else works. And were there any questions on the chat? If not, we can go to like some other stuff.
Yeah, it's just comments about keyboards, 3 layers. Eat Comic says, yeah, mine uses layer switching. Cording is better.
Thinking of layers at the beginning may feel a little weird, but if you think of layers as how you do lowercase, uppercase, or how you do the shift, it's the same thing.
And then Chip Tech says Comic Sans is a legit font when used appropriately.
What about Wingdings?
That is incorrect.
Wingdings are the better choice.
We need to find someone that is fluent in Wingdings.
Probably whoever created it.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Just hand him a Wingdings.
Or they just did it to troll everybody and didn't expect it to actually become a thing.
So I've also, I don't know. I know I've.
Hey, Blytho, do you want to show the micro switch keyboard you're working on? Since we were talking about keyboards.
Yeah, that's what I have in my hand. So I've been working on. I just realized one of these buttons is coming out. There we go. Okay, so I've been working on a micro switch keyboard. I've showed it before, but it's made up of 12 millimeter tack switches, and I got some plastic caps, and I got some stickers over here. These are like the legend stickers for on top of like regular keycaps, and they almost fit perfectly, but I found a way to make them fit perfectly because they're vinyl, so they actually do shrink a bit.
Do those plastic caps, do they fit on there with the layout the way you have it?
Yeah.
I was thinking about getting the plastic caps for my own, but I think my switches are so tight they won't be able to fit over.
The switch is actually a smidgen larger than, I don't know if the camera's not going to focus on it, but the switch is a smidge larger actually than the keycap.
And then the plastic cover that goes on top of the cap.
Right. The cover is probably larger. I don't have those because I have a feeling I just lose them because they don't really seem like they.
Oh, okay. I thought you had gotten the clear caps that go on top.
No, I didn't bother with those.
I thought that's how you were gonna hold the vinyl in.
How big are those squares?
I've been just actually because the vinyl little stickers don't fit perfectly. There's like a little overhang. I actually did multiple tests on here. The first one is just heating it up and it kind of got bubbled. And the one I trimmed with a craft knife. 2, I tried heating again and it worked a little bit better. But 3 is the method that I'm going to use. And that's where I heat the silicone mat that I have on my work table behind me with my reflow hot air gun, and then I put the sticker on and then quick push it into the silicone, and that seems to do it perfectly. It shrinks it just enough and it pushes all the corners down. Works out pretty well.
So you have the sticker already applied to the keycap and then push it into the heated silicone?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's
like a Shrinky Dink.
Yeah.
Remember the Shrinky Dink plastics? Yeah.
Yeah, because I doubt I'll be able to get this on camera or not, but I have pictures. Come on, focus. You can do it.
I don't think you can focus that close anyway on a good day.
Oh well.
What are the size of the tops?
See there
of the square
like
tops?
little posts there.
Yeah.
Right. Those are the 12 millimeter switches, like the ones that I used. This one, which I have not finished this one, mostly because I know I'm never going to use a gherkin. But it was kind of fun putting it together, and I'll probably still do something with it at some point. But for now, it's just gets shuffled around from box to box. I have all the diodes on. I haven't connected all the columns and rows yet, though.
I bought this 12 millimeter push buttons when you were assembling that, and they're still in the bag they came in.
And I'm going to be using a Teensy LC. which is the low-cost one, and I chose that specifically because it has USB solder pads on the bottom. So that'll.
Oh, interesting. On a
nice.
Teensy board. Yeah.
Yep. So that's one of the only ones that I've seen that does that. But
Yeah, that's specifically why I got the. Can't even remember the name of it now. It's the USB-C version, the I don't know, Ultimate C or something for the keyboards.
Elite.
Yeah, Elite C. The newest version, it has the solder pads broken out as well for USB.
Oh, I don't know if mine
yeah,
does.
these are pretty nice. I used one of these in my first Game Boy Zero to handle the buttons as an input because I didn't really know too much about assigning pins with GPIO and things like that yet. So I just used one of those and it worked out well. So
Yeah, do you have the version 4 on there, MSG?
I don't know if it has the pads. I don't know if it's the newer version or not the new version. But it's the Elite C.
They'd be on the other side.
Oh, on the top.
Yeah. They're very tiny, but they are there.
I'm probably actually going to do like you did with yours, Boot, where I'm going to have it in the middle. Because there's actually 7 holes total if I move all the sides to the very edges of this perf board. And 7 pins is exactly the width this requires. So
yeah, I put mine in the middle for 2 reasons. Since there were no breakout for the USB on this one, I just wanted to kind of come out somewhere out of the way. But also, I couldn't get perf board that was large enough. So this is 2 pieces put together. The Pro Micro is basically the seam that holds it together, and I soldered on a couple jumper wires here, some little steel wires to stiffen it up a bit. Seems to hold pretty good so far.
I bought a ginormous 18 by 30 perf board.
Well, typing
I'll ever use.
typing my index fingers never touch, but I don't think they want to be like 2 inches apart. I think they want to be close but not touching. And this thing of separating the hands, I don't know how I feel about it.
Well, this would be more.
You're thinner than us. You're thinner than us, so it's easier for you to type this way. For me, it's easier to type a bit spread out.
Have either one of you ever used one of the ones that are like 2 different boards, like Ergo?
Yeah.
You used it?
I've used split keyboards.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it was one of those like the Microsoft Ergo, so it's still it's standard layout. It's just been separated down the middle. They're not great to use overall. They're just kind of a mushy rubber dome keyboard. But it does feel great having a slight pitch on the angle and a bit of space. Helps with that, carpal tunnel pain.
I don't know what that is.
It's what everyone gets who sits at a computer all day, every day for their whole life.
And do work on it, because I sit there, but...
Well, not yet then.
I don't. This is pretty much the only keyboard I've used for, last 3 or 4 years now, probably. So.
Is that your Apple keyboard?
Yeah. My Apple Extended Keyboard 2.
Yeah, show it on screen. It's a pretty cool one.
So as you can see, I didn't really get a very good retro bright. As you can see, the top part is pretty beige. Yeah.
You could try the sun method, which is no chemicals, just put it in the sun.
Yeah, that's true.
It takes longer, but you don't have to go through the whole process of disassembling. You can just go put it in the sun. It'll take probably 24 hours in the sun total, so like 3 days of sunlight.
Problem is I'm in Wisconsin, so we don't have that much sun. Like I remember when I got this, I actually tried doing the retro bright outside. I used the cream gel form of the peroxide, wrapped it up in saran wrap and stuck it outside. And the sun was just not cooperating that week at all. So I just kind of said, it is how it is. It's, yeah.
Try again. Don't give up.
Yeah. That's true. Well, they say,
It looks fine.
if you don't like the weather here in Wisconsin, wait 10 minutes and, it'll change.
Yeah, winter's broke. Summer's here. Time to get outside, have some fun. We were talking about drones a bit earlier. And the clear distinction between a drone and a quadcopter. The quadcopter will fall out of the sky if you let go of the controller, and the drone will just hover there and not crash and burn. But you can't fly a drone in most places, especially if you're within 5 miles of an airport. But the quadcopters are just considered a toy unless you have something large and heavy. I've purchased a few over the years. I actually have a stack filling my entire closet of them.
So you're gonna now fly one on your desk, a tiny one.
You know what? I would have if I had planned ahead, but I don't do that. So no.
that is the planning ahead.
I do have several that I could fly inside. They're very, very tiny. And I have a new one coming in the mail tomorrow. Should be fun. It's called a Bugs 3. They're very popular and very cheap. They're about $60. And plug it in, charge it, and you're ready to fly. And they're very fast too. You can hit about 30 miles an hour on that thing. So, you lose sight of it pretty quick. So I also bought a buzzer that detects when it stops moving. It's completely self-contained. You don't have to wire it into the drone at all. And on one of these cheap drones, there's nowhere to wire it in. It has its own battery and everything. So you just stick it on, tape it on, zip tie it. If you crash somewhere, you land somewhere, you don't know where it is, it's just going to start beeping very, very loud after it stops moving for about 30 seconds.
It's pretty cool.
It is. It's a handy thing, $15 part that'll save you from losing your whole system. And the quad itself is cheap, but once you have cameras on it and you've got nice batteries and everything else, you don't want to lose it even if it's $60. That's still $60 to have it get lost just because you can't see where it landed. But yeah, I'll be doing some flying and probably, do a couple of videos about it, talk about it a little bit. We've got a couple other FPV flyers in the group, so, fun topic.
Trekia says he has a quad that he hasn't flown in a while, but its battery life was atrocious and it was just too light and had no GPS. So.
Yeah, that is a problem with a lot of these too. There's a lot of clones out there. There's a lot of bad ones. I had bought one recently that I returned because it was a 720p camera on a rig that was supposed to have a 4K camera, and I paid plenty for it. And all they did was just change the app so that it said 4K. And
one way to do it.
yeah, pretty much. They just changed the interface, changed the little graphic. So it was kind of frustrating because it flew fine. It was very slow but very stable. You would never crash the thing, but it was kind of so slow that you could barely fight the wind, which is a problem. It's pretty windy out here.
Trekia says he's flown his tethered Vectron more. That name Vectron, is that the one that's like it has LEDs on the outside that you can make a message with, and it like just kind of spins? It's like kind of like a persistence of vision kind of deal. Because I think I had one of those as a kid, and I got it at like the Discovery Channel store. Yeah, it is. Okay, yeah, okay. I know what you're talking about. I had one of those and I returned it promptly because I was afraid of
it. I never had one. I mean, as a kid, I really like having the radio controlled cars, and at some point I may have had a submarine that I played on the pool. I feel something that flies, I would be too scared of crashing it to enjoy using it. But I guess if I can see that I don't touch anything and it just floats there, then it's like it could be fun to fly it and just see it like hover there.
Those ones are fun if you want to record something. For just free flight, they're pretty boring because you're just kind of standing there telling it where to go. You're not really doing any of the flying. I like something kind of in the middle. I do want to put a camera on it. I want to have the ability to record with it, but I also want to be fast and cheap. I really like flying the cheap drones. Like I said, I've got quite a few. They're all heavily modified. It's pretty easy to print up a new case and get some carbon fiber rods of various sizes, cut out some weight, stick a bigger battery on it so you get better flight times, and make it a little sturdier so it doesn't just crack when you do crash it. I have a Parrot AR drone 2.0 that's just not recognizable as what it started out as. And that thing's fun to fly. I haven't flown in a little while because the battery's puffed up in storage, and the controlling it over the app is a little annoying. There's a lot of latency, so it's still fun to fly, but there's this lag in it that you really have to get used to, and you can crash because of it, especially when the connection drops out because you're just using Wi-Fi off your phone or whatever. I do have a specific tablet that has a modified antenna on it, so I get better range, and it's a 7-inch screen, so I can see the FPV camera on it a lot better. And then a PlayStation 3 or a PlayStation 2 controller is attached to the bottom of it, and that connects over USB to the tablet and is actually what controls the drone itself. So you don't have to use the touch screen, the on-screen controls. But the lag is atrocious. So, good for flying a camera around, not really good for just zipping around, just for fun. But they are really quite fun, and the weather is good right now, so it is a good time to get out and do something.
2 or 3 years ago, my wife, for my birthday, the gift was an hour or two on a helicopter. So flew a helicopter.
Fun.
Yeah,
It's cool.
Obviously the guy did the takeoff and landing, but then once you're up, I can control the helicopter for 15 minutes. It does get pretty scary though. Like this, you use a very little thing, and then you move it like a millimeter, and the whole helicopter turns like 25 degrees. You're like, oh no, we're gonna flip. Yeah, it was pretty scary.
I've only had one trip up in a helicopter, and that was just like a kind of a demo flight at a air show where they just take off and then land. It is a trippy feeling, there's like just that roar from it, just the vibration of it all. It's you really are aware of the fact that you're in something that shouldn't fly, that shouldn't be in the air. An airplane can at least glide down when things go wrong. A helicopter can auto gyro, but that is still a very hard landing.
It is. He's like, there is the little tail, and he's like, oh, I see him spending 5 minutes looking at the tail, and he's like, yeah, if this tail is not in good condition, the fiber is just gonna fall. And, yeah. You're there.
Yeah, you don't skip anything on that like 60-point check before you take off.
And it was like a tiny thing. It was the size of a small car. But then now that I'm talking about the drones makes me think, like, I guess if you have to fly a drone, you will have to control all these things. So probably it makes more sense that.
Well, the flight controller really handles all of the mixing for you. So even if it's a very manual drone, as long as you keep your altitude, you can let go of the rest of it and not crash. Whereas if you have the what's actually a drone, then it'll have altitude hold. So when you let go of the controls, it just stays where it is and probably drifts a little bit depending how good of a device it is. But the ones they have now, they'll sync up to like 18 GPS satellites all at once, and will actually hold a pretty perfect position. Which is nice.
Hovering.
Yeah, you can, or just tell it where to go. Most of them have an app for the thing, and you just can draw out a map, a path to take, and then press a button, and it'll just fly the path without you doing anything. So yeah, great for some cinematic camera shots. Not really fun for just some adrenaline flying around.
I guess you deploy it at any point in the 20th century, and people were like, UFO, UFO.
I mean, they still are. People keep reporting UFOs, and it's just a $30 drone someone's flying around their neighborhood.
It always was.
I did also go ahead and get a new FPV system. What I was using before is pretty outdated by today's standards. My old system was like, you buy a very lightweight camera, you buy the transmitter, the receiver, it's all separate and wired up yourself. And now they have these very compact and much lighter versions of all of that.
You waiting for it, or you have it?
Tomorrow. I was expecting it today, but delayed.
No.
But I did want to talk about the goggles a little bit, because this comes up in the group sometimes. People are looking for inexpensive head-mounted displays, something where they can really immerse themselves, and they don't want a whole VR system that they have to plug into a full tower and have a good graphics card and everything. The FPV goggles, or what they call box goggles, they're not really good for plugging in a computer. Some of them have an AV in, some of them don't at all, and they only use the onboard receiver, so they receive a wireless signal. But they're all analog, and this is to have the lowest latency possible. The only way to have an inexpensive FPV system is analog. DJI, they have a full digital system. It's very expensive, but it's really nice, very clean image. But with the cheap goggles, you can hack in your own AVN, and a lot of them have a 800 by 480 pixel resolution screen, and your Raspberry Pi has a composite out. So you can get a pretty decent image. You're not going to be able to read small text on it, but it is doable. It's, $120 FPV goggles. You can hack in your own AVN by removing the actual 5.8 gigahertz receiver, and you tap into the same composite line that it would be outputting on. So I'm going to cover that in a couple other videos coming up. I'm going to do the mod to my own. Instead of removing the receiver, I'm just going to lift the pin and connect it to a jumper and a switch and a some kind of a plug on the side of the unit, so that I can switch between the line in or the receiver. So we'll cover that in a couple weeks here coming up.
Cool.
Yeah, 800 by 480 seems tiny, but for a composite, that is almost the maximum possible that you can transmit over a composite line. You can go a little bit higher resolution, but not much. So that's really about as good as it gets. And that with very low latency, and you have a camera that actually does 800 lines TTL, that's the actual resolution you're going to get off the camera, and you're not doing any kind of weird pixel stretching or anything. Except for those cheap FPV goggles, don't let you change the aspect ratio. So like on the setup I got, I think my camera's probably going to be outputting a 4:3, but then be displayed on a 16:9. So it's just going to be stretched a little bit funny. You won't really notice it too bad, but it is something to keep in mind if you really want a good head-up display and you don't want to spend a ton of money. You're going to need to go at least to the next step up. Go to like a $200 headset instead of the $100 headset. And all those like $50 ones, those are garbage. They have like a 300 pixel screen in them and just useless for anything.
Yeah.
But I do also have the Viewfind, and I'm going to use that as well. Obviously, the Viewfind's it's very, very tiny little sliver of a thing. So that, along with a composite to HDMI converter, there will be a little latency introduced, but that's a very portable size item. And I would like to be able to take at least one of my smaller drones with me on a trip I have coming up. And I think I will have trouble traveling with a large one. Some of the countries I'm going to are not favorable towards flying commercial type drones like the DJI. They are not allowed, so we'll see if I can make it through with a very tiny system that looks like a toy. Put it in a toy box, see if they just ignore it.
Do these things look good with glasses? Like when I went to Best Buy and I tried the Oculus, I tried it with wearing my glasses. If you put like this viewfinder, these things on these tiny visors, do you see them well, or
the viewfinder is intended to be worn on glasses. It comes with a pair of dummy glasses, so that's how it's actually used. The mount that it comes with is absolutely garbage, and you cannot line it up far enough to get a good view on it. You have to like look with your eye like way off to the side. So I will be making a new mount for it. Also, because when you put your hand in front of one eye, you still see through it. It makes the hand kind of disappear. The same effect happens with the display. So you get this kind of ghosted 50% opacity, which isn't terribly useful unless you wanted more of an AR effect where you actually could still walk around and still see. You won't have depth perception because you really are only seeing through one eye, but you could still walk around on flat land without any stumbling. So I'm going to make a little mount for it that lets me get it over into the position I need, or more of just lets me adjust it anywhere I need to. And then for the other eye, there will be some kind of a little shutter that can flip down to block the vision so that your screen will be the full brightness. You won't be seen through it.
Let's get an eye patch. Eye patches are cool.
Then I'd be completely blind. Screen in one eye, eye patch on the other.
There you go.
I should mount the screen to an eye patch.
There you go.
That could work. Yeah, just have like a nice little leather strap here. Might look better than having the, like the glass hole look, from Google Glass.
Instead of a parrot on your shoulder, you can like strap an Alexa to it, and
No, I would put a Bibu over there.
A what?
The robot owl that has been featured in every classic sci-fi ever. It's a trans-dimensional time-traveling robot owl. You're not familiar?
No.
You ever see Attack on Titan, the 70s movie?
No.
Or the remake?
No.
All right, well, he's in that and a whole bunch of other stuff. All the like Hanna-Barbera cartoons. He got around, he really got around. It's actually one of my side projects. I have spent way too many hours 3D modeling this robot owl. And what I have is, I think, about as close to perfect as I can get, because in every single series it's slightly different. So I sort of took a combination of all of the variations of it. And it's set up to be a bit automated. The wings can flap, the mouth moves, the head turns. There's place for a GoPro in the head so that it can record for you, and you can like aim the head and stuff.
Screen share of your Tinkercad?
Jackie says it's new to him too. Are you sure you weren't just like hallucinating an owl into?
Let's say Tinkercad.
No, it's definitely a very real character.
Sure.
I could bring it up on Tinkercad. Remind me on the next stream. It's back many, many pages. It'd take a while to find it.
What's it called again? A bubo?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently a bubo is a swollen, inflamed lymph node in the armpit or groin. Okay.
Yeah. I set a small, I set the camera to the MSG, to show the full screen refresh because I didn't know when it will kick in, and it just did. I was getting a little annoyed. I was about to look my Python code to see when the refresh is. You can go back and check it, but it just did a refresh, a full screen refresh. You should do that on e-inks when they've been running for a little while, and the image starts to get low quality. You do full screen refresh, and it looks just like new. Now you can see it on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, if you Google BUBO, a swollen lymph node is the first thing that pops up.
I'll put it on screen for everyone. It's just
You found it?
Of course.
That's
That's easy.
Let's meet Bubo, everyone. Be nice to Bubo. He's a little shy.
So it's a cool little character.
Wait, on the first one looks like the SO punch in the eye.
They're all slightly different versions. Each movie. This one here is how you see it on screen in the Attack on Titan, and this is what mine closely resembles. It was quite a challenge to model this with all of the individual little like metal hairs. These are all made from sheet metal that are stamped out and layered on top of each other. So I just modeled them all to have this kind of randomization like the real one. And there's some toys and stuff for it as well.
Some nice dressers.
Yeah, random ads in there. But yeah, it's a cool little character, and there's not very many, not very many models that have been made of it. It's not got a big following on the RPF like a lot of the robots that are out there, like R2D2 and such.
No, in the chat people is like hands meet Bubo, but I don't think so. Bubo is way inferior. Hands is art.
Hans is superior.
My plan for the owl actually was to have it worn on the shoulder along with my Mandalorian armor. Because it's a trans-dimensional time-traveling character, it can be in any universe, any series.
No. Parrots are one thing, owls are another thing. Parrots go on the shoulder, owls don't go on the shoulder. No, trans-dimensional.
But this is a robot owl that time travels.
Owls vomit pellets.
What?
Owls vomit pellets.
Yeah, the little bundle of bones that they can't digest.
I didn't know that.
Thanks, Hans, for that bit of information.
It's your random fact of the day.
Here's
another fact. Kansas produces 20% of the U.S.'s total wheat production.
Kansas.
Yep.
Oh, I thought you said I thought you said Hans produces. I was like,
no, Hans doesn't produce the wheat.
He could, though.
He could. It is in his power, but he chooses not to.
I thought Colombia makes 20% of the wheat in the U.S.
Wait, what? Colombia makes 20% of the wheat in the U.S.
It's not part of the U.S.
Bubo is best. What?
It is. You know what? It's a great character. It was treated very unkindly in the Attack on Titan remake. They took it and threw it across a room and into a drawer. It was like a joke, but I think they should have just put the character in. Maybe the movie wouldn't have failed so hard.
Columbia, Missouri?
For anyone wondering, I just make shit up on the spot and don't read too much into it. Won't do you any good.
Well, I don't really have anything planned to talk about or, anything there. It happens. We might have just ran out of things to talk about on this Thursday night stream without it hitting 3.5 hours.
We hit
an hour.
Funny.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Could mention we're gonna start doing some sticker giveaways. Still got to work out a couple details, but I'd like to have some little mini competitions in the group every week, and so for that, they need to be things that are not expensive when it comes to the prize. Can't be giving away large items every week, but we got all kinds of cool little stickers around, a bunch of designs, different methods of production, vinyl cutter, printer, Hans stickers. Got Hans stickers. We got more Hans stickers. They're just
is the Hans sticker. I mean,
yeah.
that's what
Well,
everybody's here for.
we'll see what people request. We'll find out.
They better request.
But
Hans.
yeah, we'll start throwing in some like little puzzles or something. It's not going to be like spin the wheel and you just get picked at random. You got to earn it. And since there's only like 5 of you in the chat while we're doing this, you don't have a lot of competition. 2 people must compete minimum, or there is no prize that week.
Oh, high bar.
If you lose,
Can't win by
you're
default.
complaining.
You can't win by default. That's like getting a trophy for participating.
Yes. That's exactly what
Exactly.
it is.
Which is not a real trophy.
When there is only
All of
one.
my trophies say first place.
Some people run countries for a long time being the only candidate.
That's different. That's politics. We can leave that for people that have no real life.
Okay.
I think I'm going to try and model a 3D Hans.
But it's a 2D creature.
I know.
What will the extra
Hans?
P be? Low-hanging fruit.
Yes.
Remember.
Alright. Does anyone on the chat wants to join?
16
Yeah,
Hans.
anyone feel like jumping in the live stream here? Come hang out for a bit.
Yeah, using only primitives would be pretty good, like Chip Tech said. Chip Tech.
Yeah, it could just be a extruded 2D silhouette of it, just take this, convert it to a SVG, and then import it and, extrude up.
I could make medallions for us to wear, for our definitely not a cult.
It's not a cult.
But do wear the medallion. But it's not a cult, but do wear the medallion.
I think so.
Yeah.
And it's a good idea.
Some like white chains for it, white letter, or a keychain. I wouldn't mind a keychain. LTTstore.com. You ever get tired of hearing that? Like, I like his videos, but do you ever just get tired of that, like, incessant pushing of their products?
Which one?
Linus Tech Tips. I mean, they're big enough at this point. Do they even need to bother mentioning their stuff?
I don't think I've ever even watched one. For the longest time, I thought it was Linux Tips. Eventually, I found out that it was Linus with an S.
Linus, yeah. Yeah, actually, the first time I ever heard of him, I thought he was using a made-up name because it sounds like Linux. It's just actually his name. But yeah, I used to watch him on, I think it was Tech TV or something, or G4 Tech TV. That was very cringy shows by today's standards. Not like this one.
Speaking of the G4 shows, I mean, the Jim's show had that guy from G4 or Tech TV or whatever. I forget his name, but he was on Hot Makes last week.
Right, yeah. I'm not good
Chris
with his names either. Chris Perillo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to watch him too. He was on the same show that Linus was, or an adjacent show on the same channel.
And when I check on Reddit, I scroll, and between him and this other guy, PewDiePie, and they look the same. I don't even know what they do, but like I'm scrolling, it's like these blondish guys. I don't know what they're doing. Like,
Definitely not the same.
I never watched a video of either one of those, so to me, I'm
To
kind
be
of
fair,
I mean, you can't watch PewDiePie's videos. They're unwatchable, but he is a legend. You know, he was the first person to ever hit like 50 million followers for anything. You know, he was the first one. He just started before everybody else, so he won by default.
I mean, to be fair though, has anyone ever seen Linus and PewDiePie in the same place?
No, they don't.
Exactly.
the Reddit top 100. I've seen them both there.
Well, we're gonna have to start a new conspiracy for that one.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
MSG doesn't spend any time on the internet. This is true.
That it's not far off. I created an Instagram and a Twitter 2 months ago for the projects that haven't used it otherwise. Haven't logged into Facebook for 5 or 6 years. So yeah, and I may not be the most internet fluent guy out there.
I'm gonna disagree.
He's 4 feet tall.
PewDiePie is just unwatchable because he's just so annoying. The entire persona that he has on his show. When he's talking and he's not on, when it's just like a low-key thing, he doesn't look or sound anything like he does during his streams. He's not wearing cat ear headphones that are RGB and all that stuff.
I would totally wear cat ear headphones.
With RGB, right?
Of course. Is there any other way? I mean,
yeah.
All right.
Streamers, yeah. Well, thanks for joining.
It was
Good chat. Hang out, and I'll be around in the Discord if anyone has any questions or anything they think of after we end this. That's how it always goes. Right at the end, it's like, I forgot I was gonna say this thing. But we'll be back again. We have a couple other things in the works. There's gonna be a few standalone videos coming up, not just the live streams. They just take a lot more time and effort and planning, and all the things we don't like doing. So
sometimes
give it a couple weeks.
MSG.
And MSG, you're gonna be streaming on next Friday?
My target is next Friday. I'll basically put all the pieces of the MSG on the desk, and then the idea is to put it together, and it will be on a stream. And as I do it, people can have any questions. There won't be any soldering or putting the heat inserts unless I actually break something and needs to fix it. Just because otherwise it could go on forever. But I'll happily explain anything that is soldered. If you're like, oh, how did you solder that? Or what are you doing there to explain it? That's kind of my goal. Never done any stream or before, especially for the assembly. So we'll see how it goes. But I'll try to do it next Friday, yeah. That's
cool.
I'll be
looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to stream sometimes this week and work on this keyboard. Perhaps the Hans medallion.
So the Game Boy is fully done?
Yeah, the Game Boy's totally done.
Excellent.
I kind of didn't stream like the last bit. I don't know. I just finished it and
I mean, that should be the best part. It's like when you're showing it works. Look at it. Oh no, I got the wrong camera.
Watching me over putting an amp in or not for 2 hours.
Just works,
Yeah.
Turn on, it works. I'm gonna probably do a stream with this one here. This thing runs a full-on Linux operating system, and I know I can get to a terminal, and I'm gonna work on changing out the interface, get something on here that's usable as just a Linux computer, just another device. Right now it's kind of locked into a retro arcade system. Should be fun to see what we can do with it. It's got a couple of USB ports too, so we can have keyboard and mouse without any effort.
See, I can hold up shiny emulators.
What you're showing though is it has its own. It's not Raspberry Pi with RetroPie, right? It has its own system.
Right. It is. It's an RK3348, I think. So it's a pretty beefy little processor in here. A couple of gigs of RAM. Yeah, it's RetroArch, and yeah, it's a cool little system. I've been able to play games on this that I could never get to run on any other emulation system, which is pretty awesome. And they run well.
I have that now for like a week or two. It's not for like any fancy games, although I guess it's a Raspberry Pi 3. It's the Computer Model 3 Plus, I believe it's called. But Tetris, Sonic, Mario, all those play pretty well.
Yeah, it's cool. They've added they have these game ports for this thing. It works on a few different systems. So instead of just emulating the game, they port it over so that it can run at a higher frame rate and really run smoothly. So like you can get Doom on here. You can do like Mario 64, the 3D Mario game. That one's really hard to emulate. They ported it over and they did some HD textures for it, so the game actually looks better and it plays at 60.
Is that the company that keeps making these ports, or they just created a GitHub and then people kind of uploads there?
Yeah, these are like user-generated efforts. You get the thing that they built, and then you have to take some files from the original game and move them over to it. They don't distribute the copyrighted files, and they keep adding new games to it. So it's pretty cool. There's a lot of things that run in this that you would never expect to run in an emulator, or run well. So I'll be playing with some of those coming up too.
Nice.
Speaking of emulators, I've still been trying to get a hold of Marky Pie on Instagram. Today's his 30th birthday, but he's just impossible to get a hold of. Because I'd like to get him on here though, and he can show off a lot of his mods and stuff that he does.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see the collection too. That wall that he has of all the retro systems and all the emulators, it's kind of insane. Yeah. Must have like 500 things on there.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, we should, and that's another thing too. We should get some more retro gaming topics going. It's one of the best uses for a Raspberry Pi, even in a Cyberdeck form factor. Retro emulation is fun. It's great. You can play 10,000 different video games on the thing. Try doing that on your modern gaming PC. You'll struggle with it. Even running a emulator on a modern high power system, you'll still struggle with it because of all the crazy little config tweaks that happen. It just works better on a Pi or on one of these guys.
Yeah, and then it's portable. There are no like daily
There's no updates
or ads or like location. Let's just play, and it's like for the fun of playing, but not because you need the reward. Otherwise, you'll fall behind.
And the emulator apps on Android are just terrible. They're constantly breaking. You might be stuck using on-screen buttons, which is also kind of terrible. Pretty much impossible to do like a fighting game like that. It's not, it's not a D-pad. It's just sliding your finger around on the screen. Right. So it is pretty fun to have these. I gotta get some more games loaded on this thing too. I've been playing Rise of the Dragon, and that game is really hard. You die constantly. It's basically Cyberpunk 2077. I think they lifted 100% of the entire game for that game. Literally every single thing in it is identical, just modernized.
I know everybody likes to shit on, iPhones and whatnot, but Delta is a rock solid emulator, and not only can it do N64, they just released an update that does Nintendo DS. So,
Delta? That's cool.
Delta. Yep.
I mean,
It's not in the official app store. You do have to. It's not jailbroken either, though. They do some trickery with.
it's one or the other.
You can install a different app and then it
Well, what they
installs
do is
itself on the side.
they use the because you can sign up for a free developer account on Apple's website, and that'll let you test your apps on your phone, but you have to renew the certificate every week. And what they've done is they've made a plugin for both the Mail app and the program that you have to have on your computer that will automatically push a new certificate update to it whenever your phone is connected to
This
Wi-Fi.
sounds like a very good, reliable app to be using.
Well,
right up until Apple decides to crush it.
It's been really pretty rock stable, actually. I mean, I've had it now for well over 2 years. It used to be GBA for iOS until Apple nerfed that. But Delta is really great. If you have an iPhone, check out Delta. Just Google Delta emulator. It's pretty cool.
Nice. DS emulation, that'd be kind of fun. There's some cool games on there. There's a lot of Star Wars Lego games that are pretty fun to play.
Yeah, you do need to download the BIOS for the DS.
Right.
I haven't done that yet, but yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. This thing came with like 1,000 games on it, and a couple of them are the real deal Nintendo game. The rest are like these weird copies. I don't know who would have ever created these things, but they're like nearly pixel perfect duplicates of, like Street Fighter and just all the most popular games. But I mean, they're all terrible too. They all barely work. And like, you'd be so disappointed if, in the whatever 80s or 90s, your parents bought you a knockoff system with these terrible games on it. It's funny that they even included it. I mean, I guess they just wanted to have something on it so it was ready to play when you turn it on, but it kind of makes it impossible to find the good games, having this massive library.
They try to use it as like a selling point, like it comes free loaded with 150,000 games.
Not on this one. Actually, they don't even tell you.
Over and over.
Like on this one, they don't even tell you that it's on there. They give you a free memory card, and there's absolutely no mention of the games being loaded. I didn't know there was going to be anything on it.
When I got this one, it came also with like not RetroPie, some other system. I forgot what it was called. The thing is, I went to the settings and I could see the SSID and like the password was asterisk, but basically that's the Wi-Fi of the guy that downloaded the games on it before mailing it. So I think it was the name of the Wi-Fi they used.
What's funny about that is the password's going to actually be stored on there in plain text. You could recover that if you wanted to.
Right. I mean, but obviously, like it's not like I'm gonna go to the China Shenzhen.
No, but it's definitely not the most brilliant thing to do to include your your credentials on it.
Right. But yeah, I had that. I guess they just wanted to mail it out again. You just turn it on, and the games were there. And I guess they value this even at their own security.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, it's gonna be cool to see if I can get some kind of graphical interface on this. Use the joystick for a mouse input. I believe these are actually Nintendo Switch joysticks, or at least like aftermarket versions of them. The whole thing works pretty good. The screen's not spectacular. It's a little pixelated, but I mean it's the same resolution as like the games play in natively. So it's pixel perfect, but I'd rather have it be, double the resolution and then just use software to scale it. But you can't have everything, and it was cheap, so pretty happy. It does not. So you've got USB on it. It comes with an adapter and a little Wi-Fi dongle, which works poorly. I think it's because this adapter is not very good and it loses the connection when it wiggles. But internally on the PCB is the space for it and the solder pads for a Wi-Fi card. they just didn't include it for some reason. All the demo units they sent out to the reviewers, they all had it. Then the final version, they dropped it. I don't know why. I don't know, couldn't source the part, keep the price down, whatever it is.
Save 10
But
cents.
seriously, I ordered it off AliExpress. I ordered a couple of them just because I was placing the order. I think it was $1.25 for the card, and that's probably like a really high markup on this thing. It's a drop-in unit. You just literally set it there, solder 5 pins on it to the board, and it'll work automatically because it's the card that should have been included from the factory.
I was saying that because if you put some sort of Linux, even if it's a basic like Raspbian Lite or some Debian with no, like you probably want to have like a keyboard, and Bluetooth just seems natural for this little thing.
Yeah, definitely. And you can turn the Wi-Fi off in software too. So even when it's on board, you'll be able to disable it so you're not just burning power, having it on all the time. And this thing already is running a version of Arch. I installed a different OS on it as soon as I got it. There's a better one. And it is a version of Arch, and I know you can dig around in it. So all I really need to do is break it so that it no longer boots into the the retro arcade system, and instead we'll just default to the command prompt. And from there, then that's it. I'm in, and I can just do the rest that I need to. Should actually be pretty easy to accomplish. I'm just going to start deleting files off the memory card until I get to the point where it won't boot properly and gets me where I need to. At least I'm going to try. We'll see what happens. Might take another approach too. But something will work. It is a full Linux. Uses basically the same chipset and operating system as a bunch of the Odroid SBCs, so can pretty much just install like what they use onto here. Odroid is those very unpopular SBCs because they're so expensive and poorly supported. But
some of their handhelds are pretty nice though.
Right, they're
or whatever.
Exactly. They're moving,
really
I think, away from just doing like Pi clones into making whole units. They make a unit that's looks almost identical to this. It's virtually the same thing. I went with this one just because it has nicer joysticks on it. Otherwise, they're nearly identical units with the same chip and pretty much everything else inside.
Yeah.
So yeah, it should be fun. What do we got here? RF. don't ever do that in Linux. That will definitely break your system. Although that might be a quick way to break the one that I need to. But yeah, we'll be back. We'll have some fun things coming up. There are a lot of videos in the works. They just take time and effort and perseverance. So we'll see what we got. Good night, everyone. Have a good evening, and see you guys around this weekend.
See you later.
And we'll be broadcasting Sunday, doing a lazy Sunday. You're 90 here, and it was pouring rain yesterday, so that is just how it is now, right? It's the apocalypse.
A little bit rain here. Looks like.
Yep, definitely can read that.
Well, there is rain. Rain Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah.
Also, if anyone wants a Hans shirt, these are going to be available sometime soon on Blasto's Redbubble that he hasn't started yet.
Blasto's not going to start one, but
although yours is not going to be able to do this.
Or maybe will. You buy it and then you'll find out.
We've actually figured out how to animate GIFs on T-shirts, so we'll be sending that out shortly.
And
you'll be receiving a blue shirt.
Do it yourself.
There is Hans merchandise available on the Cafe Redbubble, isn't there?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's right. We put up a sticker. Oh, it finally. That's right. It finally propagated right after you logged out of the stream last week.
Oh,
like the second you left, it was there.
That's
I
literally how
have it in the
everything in my
cart.
life works.
I think someone has already bought one too. I'll have to check the orders. I think someone bought a sticker.
I have it in the cart. I'll be buying definitely the sticker. I want to buy a second item. I wasn't decided with the socks.
Honestly, I'm not impressed with Redbubble's prints. Every single one I received had to be reprinted. They refunded and sent me new replacements, and the replacements they sent were way worse than the first prints they sent. Had much less color. Like you look at it and it's just like every other dot is white because they just like missed the color. It's
even worse when you order their transparent stickers. I ordered
Yeah.
a bunch of those on my computer, and they just look like shit.
Is there any better provider? Because I mean, I think the
There's
stickers.
others. There is Printify. Their prints are very nice, but their back-end system's very broken. It cost me quite a lot of money because they weren't charging the people ordering. They weren't charging them the shipping for the orders. So it ended up costing me every single order that went through. So that was fun. Definitely never used them again. There's a few other options. There's lots of shops where you can just order up a dozen of something, 50 stickers, 100 stickers for very cheap. And then it's just up to you to actually, put them up for sale and ship them out.
Actually, I did just for testing. It cost me like $6 to buy in AliExpress a shirt, and I just sent them like I did a screenshot of a Reddit meme, and I just sent them that. And actually, I'll be back in a second.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to do that for a decent price. It's just those print-on-demand services. The prices have also gone up in the last year. When I opened my first one of those shops with the shirts, the prices were much, much less. The shirt only costs like $12, and then your profit could be, something decent, sell for like $20. Now on Printify or, on Redbubble, the shirt costs like $20 to have produced, and then you sell it for like $21, because it's, not trying to get rich off of it, and I'm not trying to make the price so ridiculous that no one wants it. And then there's things like this backpack. You have to do this very special pattern for the design, and whoever stitched this thing cut off the C's on the side, which kind of sucks because you can't really see the name, the full URL. So they also refunded that. Basically every single thing that they sent me for all the sample orders, they paid me back and then sent me duplicates of. Except for the backpack. I didn't want another one.
It came actually pretty well. The shirt is decent. It's more than a year old. It's been washed at least a dozen times. And it's literally just a screenshot of like some meme. I'll study on my bed so I can rest my back, and then the gorilla just.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, send me the shop that you ordered from. I might just go for that. There's a few local shops too, but they're like they charge a lot for like setup, and they have so many fees attached that they really want you to buy a lot of shirts if they're going to bother to create the screen for the screen print.
Yeah, that took like 2 months, of course.
It's another hobby for you, Boot.
But I think it was like $6.
I already know how to. I've done it before, and it's a pain in the ass and requires a bunch of large, heavy equipment to do it right. I'm not going to do it again. That was an old hobby. I've already been there and done it. Now, what you need is just one of those print shops that has those really nice like Epson or HP T-shirt printers where they can print white first and then the color. It takes like 5 minutes to print an entire T-shirt, and it costs them about $2 in ink and a couple dollars for the shirt. So, not too expensive.
Could always do what we did in the early 2000s and 90s when we had like the iron-on transfers for inkjet printers and just print them out.
Yeah. I tried some of those. The last time I tried them, I washed it once and it was completely gone. Just the whole thing was gone.
I had some that lasted for probably about a year. When I was playing Pokemon competitively back in the day, we had like...
Oh, this is a story I haven't heard yet.
Yeah, I used to play Pokemon competitively. But we had team shirts from our league, and
I never played myself, but I actually would go to competitions and watch as a spectator.
yeah.
It was actually pretty fun.
After I stopped playing, I started running them with some other people that were here. So
looks like
nice. Speaking of the iron-ons, though, I do have the vinyl that can be cut in the vinyl cutter that are iron-on. It's just you're limited to silhouettes, or you could switch colors, but it's a manual process to line up the next
sounds like it
design
would be perfect,
inside.
Perfect for Hans because he's just one color.
That's true. We could make some Hans t-shirts pretty easily.
The one I got looks like I paid $6.50 in October 2019, and now they are $7. But yeah, you can order just one. I sent the screenshot, and it's fairly readable, as I showed on the camera earlier.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
It's yeah,
like it looks like actually a nice print.
And that is I mean, it's 2019, so that's October, so it's well over a year old with I'd say a dozen washes at the very least. So
yeah, I think we might have to go that route. The Redbubble is not, it's not too impressive. Some of their stuff has come out nicely. I mean, their shirts are okay, and the mug looks good, but the stickers for a company that specializes in making stickers, I was surprised that they were terrible.
Like when I go to McDonald's and I'm like, the worst part of the whole menu is the burger.
Right.
McDonald's, everything else is pretty good. The fries are outstanding, but the burger itself, if you just got the burger and you eat it, for a burger chain, it's the worst.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't eaten McDonald's since I was a child.
This is one of their transparent stickers. It doesn't look horrible on here,
but the color is washed out, though.
Yeah, in person it is just it's crap.
I think what has happened, because I took a look at the stickers under a magnifying glass, and they're using some kind of a dithering pattern. It's a very on purpose. It's not random. It's a pattern they're using to use half as much ink. They're doing 2 ink dots and then a blank dot and then 2 ink dots and a blank dot. It's like half toning. Basically, they're using less ink, and you're going to have a less bright image because the intensity is lower. There isn't as much color there, and I think it's really just a way to save ink. I've seen it done for other prints. It's kind of similar to what your own printer does at home when you want to save ink. You have the eco mode, and you have the black dots with white dots in between them. It's still readable, but it doesn't look nice. And I'm pretty sure it's exactly what they're doing on it, and just doing it badly. And probably not Redbubble, but just their print shop that they're using for those stickers.
Yeah. MSG Carriot was wondering if you had a link. Oh, you're in the chat too.
Link for what though?
He said that after I send the links.
For your print shop. Do you want to send that to the private chat, and I'll post it in the YouTube?
Yeah, I put it on the YouTube already.
It won't show up, I think.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't.
I just went to AliExpress, a random shop. It just turned out to be decent, and for $6 or $7 for a shirt printed, and you can order only one. That may be better because the ones you're talking about, they seem to want you to order 50 to 100.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'll probably do that anyway. We have some cool designs for the shirts now. I think it'd be worth getting a few of them. The hard part is getting the sizes. How many of each size do you order? I don't think we're going to need any size smalls for anybody. Maybe not any mediums. Maybe.
Yeah, I have medium. Sometimes
medium. All right, we need one medium. That was actually something that annoyed me too on the Redbubble, is their shirts run small, and they shrink. And they shrink a lot. They run small and they shrink, and the website says true to size, so you expect it to not Yeah.
That's a load of crap.
So we are going to change it. If feel free to order something now from what we have up. It's okay. Just order a size up. Maybe skip the stickers, and we'll swap it out for something better in the near future. I won't disable it. If you get a print and it's terrible, you just send a message to them, and they'll send you a replacement, or they'll give you your money back, and then you have a halfway decent print for free. They don't even argue the point. You just send them a picture of the crappy print, and they take care of it.
Probably just.
So at least they're good that way,
I mean, to mess up a hand, it's like 2-color pixelated. If they do that one, it's like,
you know what? I guarantee you they would mess it up because they also apply smoothing to the image, and it would come out all smooth and not pixelated.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to make a very high definition vector file of Hans, and we can use that for all of our Hans memorabilia.
If you just do a BMP and enable the grid and just do a pixel drawing, then that can be stretched without the edges getting fuzzy.
Yeah.
Just do it as an old bit, old style 24-bit bitmap, that kind of thing.
I was thinking, should I just 3D print, or maybe you should edge it on a piece and then just stamp it?
Well, I wanted to make for the group. I wanted to do those challenge coins, because I designed one on one of my last streams, and it's not hard to cast stuff in pewter. Pewter you can melt in a stove.
Yeah. I've got a whole kit for it right here. I make butts for knife handles in pewter. Because I also do custom knives.
What don't you?
Name a hobby.
Do you
Someone
knit?
was it?
Do I what?
Do you knit?
I prefer crochet.
Fair enough.
Was it Helix that made the knife? Someone was making a knife.
He forges kind of a mini sword. It's pretty sweet. Looked good when it was done. Kind of rough around the edges, but he built himself a forge. I used to have one myself. Now what I do is I buy these knife blanks from a company out of Sweden, somewhere around there, New Zealand, something like that. Somewhere over there, Scandinavian-ish country.
New Zealand is not a Scandinavia.
I know, I'm kidding. I say that because it pisses off the people from there. They make these beautiful high carbon steel knives that are just razor sharp, and they're perfect. And you just build the handle onto it, and you get something better than you could ever forge yourself, even if you were a master blacksmith. These are made, these are machine made, so they're just perfect and very strong, and you can use it to strike a flint and all that good outdoorsy stuff. But yeah, it is fun. It's a good hobby to pick up. You can 3D print the handles. I've done that.
Beatrice said Scandinavian countries like Detroit. Well, if Colombia can be in the United States, why not? Why not?
And you can get a couple of fjords in the Great Lakes.
Yep.
We should do some pewter casting for something. Make a little badge, just a PC badge, just the little square ones that we used to have on all of our stuff. Maybe not Hans, maybe Kappa, stay on brand.
I did design that one, so
Yeah, and resin printed, it would look just flawless too. And you can always just rub and buff it to make it look like metal.
Or you could just, print it and then cast it in metal.
Yes, that too. That'd be pretty fun.
I wonder if it would make much of a difference if you printed on FDM or in resin to do a casting. I would think resin would probably make it a little sharper since it's
resin, because it will be exactly duplicate of the model. There won't be any variation for any reason. There won't be any, curves or blobs or, edges that move a little bit as it contracts. It'll just be the exact object. And then, you can just use silicone for the mold. Pewter melts at a low enough temperature that silicone holds up pretty well for quite a few castings.
They have that Mold Max 60. That's high temp silicone. So that's not much more expensive than the regular stuff. So
yeah, and you can get away with the regular stuff too. But if they have one specifically for it, then it'll probably hold up through more castings. Yeah, that'd be fun. We'll have to make that happen here sometime in the next couple months.
sounds good.
Yeah. Well, we managed to stay on for like another hour. This is what always happens, right?
Hang out.
At least we weren't putting Hans on the Redbubble or something for.
Yeah. Oh, Butre mentioned the doing like the wax printing. For resin, you can get resin that's made for doing burnouts. So you print it, you put it inside the plaster, and then you put it in an oven and it burns out the print, and then you cast it. That's how you do, like if you're casting gold or something, precious metals, a 3-dimensional cast versus just like a badge where it's a open-faced mold and you're just pouring in on the top and then grinding the back smooth.
I've seen on YouTube, I don't know if I still follow this channel because I cleaned out all my YouTube subscriptions the other day, but there was a channel that did Lost PLA.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't work very well.
His stuff actually turned out really well.
Probably from like a massive amount of effort and trial and error and skill.
Probably.
It's really hard to do.
Kept dipping it in that ceramic sludge. And
but you can buy a filament that is made for it as well. It is like a wax. It's the sculpting one. So you print your object and then you treat it like a block of clay, and you go back over and smooth out all of the print lines and everything and add more detail if you want. So you carve it, use a slightly hot tool so it doesn't take much temperature at all to deform it. So you can't use this stuff for any kind of a normal print. It's only to make castings out of. And that would be a fun one to try out sometime too. You're doing most of the work on the printer by printing the object, so you get 90% there, and then just finish the surface on it by hand like you would if you were just making something from clay.
It sounds inferior to a paint job.
Here's the channel, Robinson Foundry on YouTube. If anyone wants to look him up. He does some pretty good stuff. He did a 3D printed to solid bronze like skull thing, and it's pretty detailed.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Maybe he's come up with a good method for it. The last time I was looking at it, it was kind of a 50-50 shot whether or not you had a clean burnout, and if you were going to have any slag, any kind of carbon crap built up in the edges. One more hobby to have. That's what I need.
There you go.
What I need is a bigger shop, so then I can fit more hobbies.
Well, we should probably end now before we go for another hour.
Yeah. All right, guys. Stay on here if you want, but I'm going to end the broadcast. So see y'all later. Thanks for hanging out. To the 5 people that stayed with us. Send me a message on Discord. You can have the first batch of stickers that we're going to start giving away. Since you made it through, you earned it.
And so see if we can increase the quality.